in a row in a single time trial. The odds of hitting the weather tanko were about 1 in 40. Multiply that 3 times, and the odds fall to about 1 in 64,000. This was due to not only the precision needed to clip into the wall, but you also had to hope that the game didn't troll you with the incorrect frame when you hop up a wall, causing you to tumble down instead. Come 2017, eVGENIY would decide to grind for hitting 3 weather tankos in a row. It took over 26,000 failed attempts, but on October 29th, eVGENIY would successfully nail 3 weather tankos in a row, finishing the time trial in just over 16 seconds. To this day, only 4 people have successfully pulled off 3 out of 3 in a single time trial, but that is still more people who have pulled that off than the number of people who have pulled off this next shortcut even once. Along with its older brother, Mario Kart Wii is home to several glitchy skips known as ultra shortcuts. Some, like the Grumble Volcano and Coconut Mall Ultras, are relatively easy. Others are quite difficult, and then there's Rainbow Road. On March 4th, 2016, Tasser Estaloy62 discovered an ultra shortcut on Rainbow Road, and it was quite the doozy. To pull off an ultra shortcut, you need to hop from a region known as a key checkpoint box to a region box not adjacent to the key checkpoint area. In this case, the player must jump from the finish line's key checkpoint box in order to prevent the key checkpoint from just before the finish line from unloading. On Rainbow Road, this involves clipping into the fence using a boost pad and a well-timed hop, after which a precise technique known as a spin drift must be executed in order to get the correct angle before boosting off with a hop and all 3 mushrooms. If done correctly, the player will land just before the key checkpoint, and the lap will count. This was quite intimidating to say the least, and despite a few people attempting the Ultra throughout the years, no one could quite land it for nearly 5. However, on January 13th, 2021, speedrunner Arthur would become the first human to successfully nail the Rainbow Road Ultra shortcut in time trials, setting not only a new individual lap record, but also a new 3-lap world record as well. Since then, no one has nailed the Ultra shortcut, nor beaten Arthur's times yet, and it's unlikely that anyone will for a very long time. It's also worth noting that just a few weeks earlier, prominent tasser, Malio, had discovered a method to perform the ultra shortcut using just 1 mushroom, allowing for it to be nailed 3 times within a single race. Unlike the weather tanko, however, the inputs required are far too precise for a human to nail the trick without using all 3 shrooms. So sadly, a 3 out of 3 will remain task only for the foreseeable future. But what if you were to try to attempt a trick with similar strictness in regards to precision in a full game speed run? Up until this point, the tricks I've mentioned are for very short speedruns where you can just try again right away. But what if you had to perform a clip so precise, where your position had to be perfect, down to the millionths of a unit, and it's 20 minutes deep in an hour-long speedrun? Welcome to Banjo-Kazooie Any %! In this speedrun, you need to collect 810 notes in order to open up the final door to the final boss fight with Gruntilda. Oh yeah, and like 6 jiggies. In a normal playthrough, you need to collect a vast majority of the game's main collectible, jiggies, in order to unlock all 9 levels, where in each level there contains 100 notes, which are required to open up several note doors along your journey, including the final one that requires 810 notes. The note door cannot be skipped, but with the use of several out-of-bounds glitches, Banjo and Kazooie can enter all but 2 levels without any jiggies. The most difficult clip, however, is early Mad Monster Mansion. In early 2020, a new type of clip was discovered called a float clip, where at extremely precise locations, it is possible to clip through floors and enter loading zones. Following this discovery, Glitch Hunter the 8-bit Beast wrote a program in order to find the precise position and angle required to clip into the Mad Monster Mansion, one of the only levels that couldn't be accessed early through glitches up until that point. Come June 27th, 8-bit was posted a viable setup that worked on console. The tasser Ring Rush posted a setup that was a minute faster than the previous one. When pulled off correctly, the trick could save up to 4 minutes in the any % category, enough time to push the game under 1 hour, but it was no walk in the park. The setup required precise pause-buffered first-person camera movement, as well as frame-perfect techniques, such as punch canceling. It's quite ridiculous, but at least you could take your time to perform the setup correctly and optimize your execution later. When it comes to other frame-perfect techniques, however, sometimes there's no room for a breather. In Super Mario Odyssey's minimum capture speedrun, players attempt to speedrun the game while only capturing entities with Cappy a total of 3 times. The run features several frame-perfect out-of-bounds clips, frame-perfect Cappy teleportation, all while playing with 2 controllers simultaneously. And yet, as these crazy tricks were implemented and the capture counts lowered, one thing remained the same for the past 2 years. The nut jump is easily the hardest trick in the run. Exclusive in version 1.0 of Mario Odyssey, this trick allows Mario to gain infinite height using a wet nut. When this giant nut is wet, it gains the strange property of being able to repeatedly be caught mid-air. In minimum capture speedruns, this is used to skip the final pylon capture just before the Mecha Brutal fight in Bowser's Kingdom. However, in order to catch the nut again after throwing it, you must input a frame-perfect dive, catch it, throw, dive frame-perfectly, rinse and repeat for several dozen times until you reach the top. This takes quite a lot of practice and is not only a huge roadblock for newbies to the category, but also an infuriating run killer for veteran runners. The nut jump was first implemented in late 2018 when the speedrunner Grady completed the first 13 captures run using this trick, and the speedrun hasn't been the same ever since. With ideal execution though, the nut jump takes under a minute, and you're also just going up in a straight line, worrying only about hitting a nice rhythm. Several frame-perfect inputs, yes, but at least it's not over 200 frame-perfect inputs over the course of several minutes, like in The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. If you want to have a chance at getting a competitive time in speedrunning Wind Waker and not automatically be 10 minutes slower than the very best, you'll need to perform a manual super swim at the very start of the run. Throughout the speedrun, super swimming is a common glitch used to travel across the Great Sea at lightning speeds, using the assistance of glitches such as Wind Waker storage in the original GameCube version, or item sliding with the grappling hook in the HD remake. At the start of the game in Outset Island, however, you'll have none of those items, meaning that in order to super swim, you'll need to frame perfectly turn 180 degrees every frame while swimming in order to build up enough speed. When swimming in the opposite direction on the first frame, Link gains 3 units of speed. If he continues in that direction for another frame, he loses 3 frames of speed, resulting in a net 0 speed gain. In November 2017, Wind Waker speedrunners began experimenting with manual super swimming, using frame-perfect pausing and buffering opposite inputs on the control stick. Once Link reached 550 units of speed, the camera would lock in place to where just holding up on the control stick would charge up speed. Once runners got good at practicing this soon became a viable trick for both Wind Waker HD and SD speedrunning, although it proved to be quite the challenge. Not only would you need to do hundreds of frame-perfect pause buffering over the course of several minutes, but you would also need to precisely refill Link's air meter along the coast halfway through the super swim, all while trying not to completely lose all the speed you built up. And as if that didn't sound wild enough, things got crazier in the GameCube version in 2020, when speedrunners such as Linka7 and Demon began doing unbuffered manual super swimming, which involved flicking the stick up and down at a rate close to 20 times per second. As you can imagine, this method is very physically demanding, but charging up the super swim unbuffered saved about 2 minutes over unbuffered, and thus the top runners began to partially implement it into speedruns, before eventually doing the trick entirely unbuffered. It's one of the most physically demanding tricks in all of speedrunning, but evidence shows that it is good for building up arm muscle. As strenuous as manual super swimming is, at least it's relatively mindless exercise. At least, compared to writing literal code with Koopa shells, blocks, Yoshi, and fireballs, oh my. Super Mario World's credits warp is honestly a technical marvel within speedrunning. It allows Mario to write and execute arbitrary code within the game as a means of warping from one of the first levels in the game to the end credits. This is accomplished using an SNES multitap, with several controllers attached with specific inputs taped down, as well as position-perfect Koopa Troopa stomps, shell positioning, throws, Yoshi block duplication, and near frame-perfect fireball spitting. The first time a human successfully pulled off this credits warp on console was on January 21st, 2015, when popular Minecraft YouTuber and Super Mario World enthusiast SethBling performed it, beating Super Mario World in just under 6 minutes. Over the years, the fastest setup has changed, and performing credits warp has become less about taking the time to set up the necessary components to a near incomprehensible sequence of 41 seconds of gameplay, consisting of several frame-perfect and position-perfect inputs which make the warp possible. As speedruns of the category have gotten faster, the less consistent successful runs were. But in spite of this run's absurd difficulty, it's less than a minute, meaning that despite the impeccable precision required to complete a single run, you could always try again right away. Not to mention, it's performed in a simple two-dimensional plane. But what if you were to perform something similar to this, but it was in the third dimension, where precise angles and coordinates could make or break the run? Ever since the fall of 2019, when Glitches and Stuff discovered stale reference manipulation, or SRM for short, speedruns of the N64 Zelda games haven't been the same since. This is by far the most powerful glitch in both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and is incredibly complex, enough to warrant its own dedicated video on this channel in the near future. But to quickly summarize SRM, it allows you to manipulate the game's memory by performing specific actions before unloading a held object through the loading plane. This allows the reference of the unloaded object to become stale, and be filled in with another reference depending on position and angle. This is used in various speedruns to obtain several items much earlier than intended, as well as obtain glitchy items, such as the F-boots, which normally aren't obtainable, and allow Link to float in the air from a side hop, and even wrong warp to different locations in the game, and even execute arbitrary code similar to Mario World. Various uses of SRM are used in several of the game's categories. The most infamous and volatile uses of SRM are performed in Ocarina of Time's 100% category, an incredibly brutal gauntlet filled with several difficult wrong warps, which are both position and angle perfect, and have shaved off half an hour out of a 3.5-hour run. Setups of these warps exist and are performed in full game runs, but the precision required to successfully nail these wrong warps is extreme, where the slightest positioning error could lead to a soft lock or the game crashing. This makes the speedrun incredibly unstable, meaning that until you reach the final Ganon fight, the run is always at risk of dying due to a crash or a soft lock. As daunting as this sounds, runners willingly run 100% with these incredibly tight setups and warps, as it's possible to learn and gain some level of consistency. Other speedrunners aren't so lucky, as is the case with Super Mario 64 120 Star. In the 120 Star speedrun, runners collect the star atop the house in Rainbow Ride alongside the 100 coin star. However, they must ride a magic carpet in order to reach the top of the house for nearly a minute. This is obviously slower than not using the carpet, but is consistent and safe. To reach the top of the house without the carpet is downright preposterous. To do so, you must pick up the Bob-omb atop the ship on the other side of the map, throw it and catch it while it's at its biggest size before exploding to stop the explosion and give Mario lots of backward speed. Mario is then navigated to a place where he can drop the Bob-omb in a precise manner to prevent it from ever exploding, re-grab it while Mario is sliding off of a ledge to carry the Bob-omb without using his hands so he can use the majority of his moveset once more. While this is happening, he is continuously being pushed back, and with careful navigation, he can travel to a warp location which teleports him to the house's balcony. From there, Mario conserves the speed and can perform a complex series of glitchy wall kicks along a house in order to reach the star without the carpet. This strat was first implemented in a TAS in 2013, saving over a minute. Several years later in 2019, top runners such as Cheese were able to perform the trick using save states, but so far, only one person, Zaya, has successfully managed to perform carpetless on console without save states. This trick will likely be used in individual star speedruns, but will be considered way too difficult to go for in full game runs, especially since there's several places where you can mess up and it's during the final 5 minutes of the run too, so the risk heavily outweighs the reward. Throughout this video, I've gone over some pretty insane tricks, so I've saved the longest, most tedious, and mind-boggling glitch used in actual speedruns for last. Very recently in the Breath of the Wild speedrunning community, glitch hunter Legend of Link discovered a fascinating new glitch known as New Game Plus. This trick allows the Great Plateau tutorial to be skipped from a fresh save file, as well as allowing for several duplicated items, as well as the Bow of Light outside of the final boss fight with infinite ammo and godlike power. For long runs such as the infamous 100% speedrun, it easily saves over a couple of hours. The catch, however, is that the setup takes well over an hour, has to be performed before all the speedrun attempts in the categories that allow it, contain several frame-perfect sequences, all while losing the ability to save the game. And if you die during the setup, you have to start it all over again. Fellow lowest percent contributor and Zelda speedrunner, Linka7 has an excellent video covering the setup in great detail, so if you'd like to know more details, I suggest you check that video out. This glitch is incredibly absurd, but incredibly useful too. As tedious and off-putting as it may sound to many, there have been some speedrunners who have been creating a new 100% route with New Game Plus, so expect to see a few people running the category with this trick in the near future. Speedrunning tricks can be incredibly hard at times. They can be so daunting and difficult that it'll prevent a vast majority of people from ever attempting these tricks. Yet, it's part of what makes speedrunning so great. The speedrunners who take their time to learn these glitches or complex movement do so out of the love for speedrunning, and push speedruns to not only become faster with each passing year, but to put on a fantastic show for the viewers at home, whether it be live at a charity marathon in front of thousands of viewers, or for the few people watching in a tiny obscure corner on the internet. People can interpret these glitch performances as either inspiring or intimidating. Which umbrella do you find yourself under? Would you attempt to perform some of these glitches for fun, or would you rather stick to the sidelines? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you to everyone who helped me with this video, and if you enjoyed today's episode of Lowest Percent, consider subscribing for some of the highest quality speedrunning content on YouTube. This has been Lunatic J, and thank you for watching.
Ничего, чуть не знаю. Ну наоборот, надо пусть.
Всю ночь куковать. Опаньки! Как-то хорошо служит.
Возможно, я уже переболел, надеюсь, я так думаю. Да.
Тараканы мерзнут.
Да.
Парашка.
Так, сейчас, кстати, да. Слушай, кто мог подумать? Ну да, ладно. Ну наоборот, значит. Пам-пиём-пиём-пом. Джек потрошили. Тюрке. Па-па-па-ё. И там трясут прям это самое, как скажем, это самое, да. Да, поняла, да. Просто это.
У тебя все хорошо у нас. А это есть труба. Труба тебе, короче. Труба.
Чё там? Чё ты?
Bila дурма.
Это что это? Нет, нет, нормально. Так, что тут? Ладно. Ладно, включать помидорчики. Ого, ну ты даешь. Бизони. 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 А это что, так я же расширил уже. Ну нет, ну ладно. Опять что ли все как-то. Так он так нет, он тебе все. Да. Уриш, уиш, уиш, да, ну ты понял, да, я знаю. Кстати, да. Упражнение, ой, упражнение. Не нравится ему это. Ну нет, не нравится. Народ, наоборот, нет, наоборот, Бодосика. Подавал и шростник. Ой, ну что ты? Это, Эх, для ноги. Для одной ноги, что ли? Для одинокой ноги. Для одинокой ноги надо. Нет, нет, Шапка не